have to follow the funny rock star. You probably can't understand my accent.
So you win the longest commute?
I possibly win the longest commute. I'm from Sydney, Australia. So I came down from Breck this afternoon, right? So, and
you ready?
Yeah, I'm good to go. Right, let's go. I followed the funny rock star. I'm in big trouble. So I'm going to do something really geeky. My name is John Allsop. I'm a geek. I do this web correction thing you'll hear about a bit later, and I've had a lot to do with CSS for many years. I wrote a book on microformats. I'm very geeky. We're going to look at 15 cool things you can do with CSS, and I can see a lot of people groaning. Right, if you get, oh my god, I'm not going to text stuff. Hands up, who's like a designer, developer, you do all the coding stuff? I am fucked. Right? So who's never heard of this CSS stuff? Alright, a few in that, and a few in the middle. So right, hopefully I've got something for everyone. We're going to look at some code, we're going to look at some design stuff, and we're going to look at some browser things. So at the top, we've got the code. You can do some cool stuff like text shadow with today's browsers on the bottom, Firefox, Safari, Opera. And you can do cool things like here's a heading of level 1. Straight out of CSS. Looks like that text shadow, left bed, you've got a bit of an offset, you've got a bit of a blur, and you've got a bit of a colour. Just like something in Photoshop, but it's native in the browser. You can do box shadows, only in Safari at the moment. Box shadow, left and right offset, got a bit of colour, got a bit of blur, and then you've got this lovely, you don't have to like fiddle with HTML, CSS, and all that sort of stuff to make it happen. Only works in Safari iPhone at the moment. Here's the thing you can do. You don't have to add different classes to all your rows and your tables anymore. You can use this new selector, the nth child selector, and choose only every odd element and give it this background color. So no more JavaScript, no more classes, no more IDs, just to make that happen. It works on lots of browsers. Round corners, we all love round corners. Who loves round corners? What a pain in the ass they are. That's it, that's all you need now. Auto Radius 1M works on those browsers, it works on the iPhone. Woo! Go Mozilla. And then you can start putting it all together. So here we have a drop shadow. There's not even a border on this. It's got a round border, drop shadow, this beautiful effect. Works in Safari at the moment. Mozilla's coming, Opera's coming too. Just put the two of them together. Really easy to do. None of that rocking around with lots of CSS and things like that. Web fonts. Who wants to use whatever friggin' font they want from the web? You can do it now. I didn't hear that. I want to you can create your own fonts. You can link to them on the web. Works in Safari. Works in Mozilla. Even works in Internet Explorer. Woo! So this is actually a real live web page that's been scaled with this new property called Transform. Works in Mozilla. Works in Safari. You can like shrink down a page, and all this text is selectable. You can click the links and things like that. You can do other things like this. Woo! So this is an H1 that's been rotated. So that's actually there. You can select it. It's just being rotated using WebKit Transform Rotate 90 degrees or Moz Transform 90 degrees. So you can just rotate things out. We'll see that live in action in a couple of minutes. Works on those browsers. Multi-columns. They all flow. The text is flowing between the three columns. Right? It's all been leveled out. You can put the column gap, you can put the column width, you can put the column rule. Column count works in those browsers right now. Right, and browser doesn't support it. It looks all right, just a solid block of text, but for the other ones they do. There's two ways of doing things that are opaque. This is making the whole element opaque using opacity, so just 0.7, so you can sort of see the background coming through. Works in all those browsers. But there's a problem with that, so there's a different way of going about doing opacity, and I'll show you what the problem is after I show you how to do it. You can use RGBA colors, so it's just like RGB. Add the A, add the 0.8, and now what happens, the background color is transparent, but the rest of the element isn't. So why is that a big deal? Well, working on those browsers, we're about to find out why that's a big deal. At the top, this is using opacity, this is using RGBA. As you can see, the text color is semi-transparent, which makes it really a pain in the ass to read. Except if you just put the background color as being transparent using RGBA, then you get a lot better legibility. So there's often more than one way to do things in CSS. Here's a little thing I prepared earlier. I hope it works. Right, so what we love in the web is things that go, ooh, nice and shiny. That is simply a transition using CSS. And if you saw it, we're going to see a couple more in a second. So you can basically make the background color change in 1.5 seconds on the rollover. So here's another example of it live in action. This is no JavaScript, right? Look at this! Watch this! And they had the same reaction. Now, we're getting toward the end, but this is really nice. You can actually add reflections and gradients to elements using CSS and WebKit. So we've got the box reflect, and we've got a gradient creating with the WebKit gradient. This is what it looks like. Here it comes. Please work. Right? And in fact, that transition was actually also using a WebKit transition. So here's my lovely daughters. This shadow here and the gradient is all created with CSS. Right? And if the browser doesn't support that CSS, you're just going to love the picture of the girls. Alright? So there's some pretty sexy stuff happening in CSS. This is working in loads of browsers. Go to css3.info, go to westig.com/wiki, that's my website with some cool stuff. SignMaster supports all these properties in it. I don't know if you've heard of it, the Beta 5 version for Mac supports it. And down here, Mozilla have got a whole heap of information on what they're doing. And one last thing, I'm doing a conference called Web Directions, you may have heard of it, it's in Denver in February. I've got a great special offer, I've got a little list there for you guys. Web designers, web developers, web folks, love you to come. Thanks for your time, have a great one, enjoy the beer.